So Wickerman has new wood, Toxicator has a single rider queue, and the blade is no more. So today we're going to take a look at all the major work going on at Alton Towers and what you can expect this weekend for opening day. And here's to the 2025 UK theme park season. So next year in 2026, CBeebies will get its second roller coaster, which is currently going in the location of the Postman Pat ride. As we know, during the February half term, we started to see markings of where some of the support columns would be, as work is set to commence sometime early in the year. However, the people who did go this past weekend, they also saw new electrical wires on part of the track of the Treetop Adventure, which this gives an insight as to which bits of the track will be removed to make room for this roller coaster, and just shows how short the new layout will be. Currently, there is no end date for the Postman Pat ride. However, with work happening very quickly at the moment, I'd be very surprised if we see this much longer after spring. In my opinion, I think the last couple of days could be the end of April, early May for the Postman Pat ride before we start to see work really get into that second gear. On Tower Street, there's some brand new graphics in all the windows. These are mainly themed around all the different areas of the park. Some nice little touches as well. And just around the corner over at Wickerman, this has had a major cleanup. As we know here on the channel, we've been talking about it loads. There's been bushes, foliage, everything's just kind of overgrown the wooden roller coaster, which is not necessarily a terrible thing. However, there's a lots of theming actually around the queue line, which if you've only gone on Wickerman recently in the last few years, you probably don't even know existed. With some of this theme being damaged by the plantation, they've now actually redone this theme and it's more of like a resin instead of a fabric. This looks really, really good. I can't wait to see this in person myself. And overall, Wickerman is going to be looking very, very fresh. We've had some new pieces of wood actually changed inside of the ride itself. Obviously, as you know, during school trip season, kids writing on stuff. I'm sure this won't be fresh for very long. As soon as that May, June time period happens, no doubt we'll probably start seeing people Snapchats or whatever written all over it and wreck. However, for the first few months of the season, it should be looking quite fresh, just like it did in 2018. Over in Forbidden Valley, of course, this year we have Toxicator, the brand new flat ride. Blade is fully gone now. There's no more of it. It's probably just going to be an empty pit. No one's really been able to see it. Forbidden Valley was actually closed off because they're just finishing off the little bits of theming for Toxicator. However, they did also spot a single rider queue. Very, very bizarre in my opinion. Obviously, I use a single rider queue a lot throughout the season, especially if we're documenting work, which we have done for the past 2 seasons here on the channel. We probably will this season with some of the work going on. In fact, we've even got some work down by the dungeons, but more on that later. So yeah, single rider queue is a bit bizarre because if a flat ride is loaded properly, I don't see this actually being quicker than the main ride queue. So just a heads up. Of course, we're going to know more over the next couple of weekends as we get to experience Toxicator, whether that single rider queue is actually more useful than first seems. But I would say you're probably just as fast to use the main queue if it is being loaded correctly. Now, I did just mention some work going on by the dungeons, a very barren area where we did see another flat ride removal, which was Flabio's. However, just down by the dungeons itself, we've seen the Skier Maze graphics still stale, which is a bit bizarre in my opinion, even though if it's coming back later in the year. October is not for another 7 months yet. However, there is markings around that area. Whether that's got something to do with the new ride, which will be going down that side of the park, I don't know, or whether that's more long-term planning for the use of the dungeons, maybe in 2026 or 2027 as a brand new permanent dark ride, which would be really good, especially if it was actually part of your ticket and not an upcharge, as the ride system in the dungeons itself is actually very good. And if it was utilized correctly, that'd be a brilliant dark ride to have at the park, another indoor attraction, which would be really good. The stage on the lawns is gone, and of course, as usual, every winter period they try to do their best to regrow the lawn, shall we say. I'm not really sure what the technical term is. However, obviously the lawns have been used for a lot of different events, especially fireworks. They get an absolute beating over the end of the year from Oktoberfest, Gearfest, then the fireworks. So it's no surprise that that stage is gone to hopefully allow that grass to grow, and it's giving you a nice little look over the lake over to the towers as well. Currently there is some temporary lights. I don't imagine they will be taken down for the first couple of weekends because of Alton After Dark. People are going to need to see the path, and with Alton Towers not having a lot of permanent lighting, that is necessary, let's be honest. Hex was closed. It's sort of questionable, but not necessarily fully questionable because the Skyride was also testing. We've not heard an opening date for the Skyride, but it's good to see it's testing, at least hopefully for that opening weekend. Okay, well, quick edit. It's now just been announced by Alton Towers themselves that the Skyride, Hex and the Congo River Rapids won't be open until at the earliest April 2025. So the first 3 weekends, in fact, Hex won't be open. Of course, if you don't know, this past weekend, Alton Towers was open for only a few thousand guests. It's kind of like a preview on the actual season, and it's mainly aimed at kids. However, a few rides such as Wickerman, 13 Rita was open. Forbidden Valley wasn't, because I already told you the Toxicator was having a few bits of theming finishing off. So yeah, it's more of a preview on the season. It's not an accurate representation of 2025. However, with it being a preview, it does give you an insight after some of the things you could get to expect. And Hex being closed is a bit of a weird one, because nothing else was closed around that end of the park, as I've already said. And I would have thought you want to kind of reassure people that that is coming back for this year, because it's not been very reliable for a very long time. I kind of touched on it then, but yes, the Skyride was testing, so if you are worried about it, maybe that is a good sign. It's hard to tell, but it was testing. The Curse of Alton Manor, something which at the end of the season definitely needed some major TLC in all of the theming pieces and all of the effects as well. The tunnel was the major thing not working. However, by all accounts, it was working yesterday, which is really good. There was some accounts that a lot of the other effects weren't working though, which is a bit bizarre. However, hopefully that is all sorted this next weekend, as the Curse of Alton Manor is a very good dark ride, albeit doesn't necessarily get the longest queues. However, having your dark ride at the park being operational is kind of bare minimum. Other than that, the park was reportedly very clean, which is good. Obviously, of course, it probably won't stay brand spanking new throughout the season. That is very hard to keep up with, especially during the summer holidays and the school trip season with constant kids. However, it's great to see at least the first few months we're going to have a brand clean new park. A few bits of TLC, as I said, a plantation, new fences. So at least they've given the park a good little spruce up, and it just makes it feel a bit more fresh for you to look at. Can't wait to get to Alton Towers this month. It's crazy that we're already here at the brand new season. Hopefully, if you are going to opening weekend, you have a good time. Let me know your thoughts on the winter period for Alton Towers. Do you think this is an adequate amount of stuff? It's honestly not bad. It's great to see a cleanup around the park. It was kind of needed throughout the park, let's be honest. There are a few bits and bobs that haven't been done. There's a fair bit, and a couple of bits to actually be excited about, like the markings near the dungeons, which were unexpected. Thank you for watching. Make sure you subscribe and like if you haven't already, and I will see you in my next video. Goodbye.